Hey, I'm back with another video. It's 12:37 p.m. It is October 29th. Happy Sunday. I'm a little late today. I usually like to do my Sunday videos early in the morning, but I kind of got off track. I did go to the store this morning and I had to walk, which was fine with me. It was a beautiful autumn day, so I enjoyed that. But I was thinking about the importance today of like having, family bonds. And I think everybody knows my family, but I'm thinking about how grateful I really am. And I think people should be grateful, especially if they were, even though, things may not have always been good in my home. I keep thinking, I could have ended up in the foster system or something like that. So, even though things weren't always the best and the greatest, I'm very grateful that at least, I had a home and I always had clothes and I always had food. God knows we had food in that house. But anyway, we had food and, I was pretty much taken care of. Now, the sad part about families is that a lot of times families take care of their kids' material needs, which there's their food and their clothing and, of course, those little extras and stuff like that. But sometimes we don't take care of their emotional needs because, we're kind of running around working jobs that are taking a lot of our time, and then we're drained and we're exhausted. But I was thinking about the importance of spending time with people that you love and how important that time really is, and it goes by really fast. Like, I can't believe, like, my son just recently turned 30 and I'm thinking, oh my god, where did all this time go, and it goes by really fast. And I wish I could go back and spend more time, could have spent more time, or if I wasn't in such a grumpy mood at the time, I would have done more. And I do remember having some really good times with my son, but I wish I would have had more. And so I was thinking about how a lot of people don't even have, like, kitchen or dining chairs or dining tables in their home. It's gotten to the point where, families really don't have that time. But I think it's important for me to encourage you guys, even though I know that you guys get really busy and maybe you can't even have a home cooked meal even once a week, because I know how that schedule works. And I know even having two parents in that household, you guys still work and there's still a lack of time. But if you could just do this once a month, that would be good. It's something that they can remember. Now, you don't have to have a table and chair set up, because I know that's kind of an old thing. A lot of people don't have that in their house. But what you could do is you could take like a blanket, lay it out on your living room, and everybody can grab their pillows and just kind of sit down and have a meal, on the ground. And that's kind of a fun thing. I was looking at recipes. Now, I did talk about, magical cooking. And we're going to get more into that on my Patreon channel. If you want to join my Patreon channel, I will put the link in the description box. But I just want to give you a quick little recipe. When you start, figuring out how food works, I know that there's a lot of recipes that I've made on my own, okay? And then, of course, there's sometimes, because I have recipe books too, but what I usually do is, like, during this time of the year, I focus on prosperity. And prosperity is, of course, anything that makes you feel like you have enough, like you're satisfied, okay? Like, you want to make sure you have enough money. May not be rich, but you want to make sure you have enough money. You want to make sure you have enough things, supplies, stocks in your home. What I mean by stocks in your home is, like, you have your toiletries, your paper towels and stuff like that. Things that you need, to make you feel content and satisfied. So I like to call it prosperity cooking. So I look for food that is going to make me feel abundant and comfortable, right? So I was looking for a recipe today because I really don't have time to do a lot of stuff. And I would like to say, if you guys do start getting into cooking, which I think is a good thing, okay, it's always best to use fresh ingredients. Like, if you can get, like, I'm going to be giving you guys a pumpkin soup recipe that I got off the internet. I believe the company's name, or she's not really a company, but let me see what it's called. The Salty Marshmallow. I'm just going to be trying out this recipe, but it's a pumpkin soup recipe, and I look through the ingredients, and then I try to think about all the little ingredients that go into it. Now, pumpkins usually represent money. They have a money generating type of energy to them, and they also represent, of course, money and prosperity. Prosperity to me are kind of like one and the same, okay? But you'll see a lot of times during this time of the year, we have the pumpkin. We have the pumpkin starting like usually in the September months, and then we stop seeing so many pumpkins around November, okay? But during this season, we're focused on, you know, the harvest time and that sort of stuff. So during this time of the year, I choose to focus on prosperity. So I do a lot of prosperity cooking, foods that are represent abundance. So I will be putting the recipe in the link to that recipe in the description box. But at the end of this video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you the breakdown, the spiritual breakdown of those ingredients. And so if you wish to try this recipe, which I'm going to be trying it tonight, go ahead and do that, okay? And then yeah, like I said, I will put it at the end of this this video. But yeah, I think it's important that you guys spend time with your families and be grateful that you have family. You know, even though, like I said, you know, my family didn't really have the best. I didn't have the greatest family, okay? But I am very grateful for my father, and I am becoming more grateful and appreciative towards my mother, even though, you know, we didn't always have the greatest times, but I understand, you know what I mean? And so maybe you didn't have like the greatest family. Maybe your family did things to you that hurt you or whatever, but you know what? You got to find there's something that you can appreciate about that situation, you know? And I think that when you spend time with your families, like maybe preparing this meal or maybe another meal that you might choose to prepare, or whenever you're sitting down with your family, it's good to talk to your family. You'll be surprised how kids love to hear about your time at their age, you know, because you start to see them in a different way, you know, and it's like a lot of kids are embarrassed to tell their parents things that are going on in their life because they feel like they wouldn't understand. And it's neat when you hear like your own parent telling you what it was like at their age, at your age, you know what I mean? Or how am I talking about this? How am I describing this? Like, it's nice to hear what I remember when I was a kid, when my mother would tell me what she did when she was my age. You know what I mean? She told me about, you know, how it was in school. She told me about talent shows that they had, you know, and some of those little stories were funny. And it's like, you know, it makes you feel less alienated from your family. There's a lot of things that parents don't even know about their kids, and vice versa. And I think a lot of it has to do with the busy schedules and not being able to take that time out. So I think that's an important thing to do. So anyway, I did want to do some celebrity shout outs, but before I get into that, I did get some messages, and I'm going to go ahead and share them. Apparently, my tribe is waiting for another video. They seem to be addicted to my videos, which is funny. And like I said, you know, the shitty part about it is that I don't get to feel the love. I don't get to feel any sort of expression of these people's appreciation towards me because I don't see the numbers. I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable leaving comments these days. I see that on a lot of videos. But these people are so fucked up. Like, they don't want me to feel anything, okay? But luckily, I'm psychic and I can, like, retrieve these messages, you know, from the cosmos. So that lets me know. Also, people want to party with me. Now, I remember back in, the 90s, I did a lot of partying. Like, you know, every time I moved into a neighborhood, people would pile into my place. You know, it was a place to drink. It was a place to get high. It was a place to whatever. Yeah, I actually was like that, okay? Because I was young, okay? And I'm sorry, you know, that's what young people do. And I'm not saying it's right, but it's kind of excusable, especially when you're young and, you know, you got all this time in your hands. And I will say that people loved it when I got drunk because they knew that I was going to make a fool of myself. But I don't really party that much anymore. But, I mean, I would love to go to, like, a nice, like, you know, event where I'm like all dressed up. I really, really want to wear that black dress really, really bad. As far as like getting wild and crazy and stuff like that, I don't do that, you know. And I don't really drink. I don't drink alcohol at all. But that's cool though that people want to hang out with me. That's very, very cool. I was thinking about having a cake party, you know, in the future, like when I make friends, like real friends, you know. But anyway. Oh, and people are basically, I'm getting the message that it's okay to talk about the experiment of this nurture versus nature type thing. I've always had that in the back of my mind too. Like, you know, I always wanted to know about that experiment. I didn't realize I was that experiment. But there's a lot to know about that. I learned about a lot. I'm getting tongue-tied again. There's a lot to learn about that, because there's a lot of traits that we do have that is a part of us, our DNA. Like when you see people who are real stubborn, they like myself, who just insist on doing things their way. It's in you. It's in you. You know what I mean? And there's nothing that your environment can do to change that. Unless, of course, they literally put a gun to your head. And there's some people who have the balls, like apparently this emperor and even me, are going to stand up and say, hey, no, that's just not how it's going to happen. You know what I mean? There's a certain inner strength that can only be described or come from DNA, So it's an interesting experiment, Cool that I got to be a part of it. People like my content, which is good, and I want to make the best content for everyone, and I want to make sure that people are satisfied with the content as well. And I try to, like I said, communicate it in a way where it's easy to understand, and I like to give a little bit of history behind what I'm saying, and show you facts as much as I possibly can. There's so much that goes into learning, you know what I mean? And so but it's funny because like the first video that I uploaded on Patreon, it was too big, and it was too big. They wouldn't accept the file. But I know that I can go on and on and on and on with detail. And I prefer to give a lot of detail, but I also try to keep things, short enough. So, there's a lot of thinking that goes into writing content. And I want to be able to provide the kind of content that's entertaining to people, but also enjoyable. And I think that's the key really to learning methods, is having something catchy. We all remember Schoolhouse Rock. The reason why we remember those certain things in school is because of those little catchy tunes and stuff like that. It's important to be able to teach people in a way that's easy to understand. And I loved Schoolhouse Rock because, I think I learned a lot more from Schoolhouse Rock than a lot of the lessons that what I mean by that is, of course, I learned the lessons in school, but as far as having it and retained in my memory, those lessons that I learned in Schoolhouse Rock are always going to be in here. They're always going to be in part of my brain, just because of the way that they presented it and how they taught it. Oh yeah, okay. So people are learning easily from me. They think that I'm a good teacher. I want to be a good teacher. That's important. I think a part of my spiritual life is not only to have knowledge, but to communicate and share that knowledge. So for me to be a good teacher, that's really important. Also, another message I got, and it's really not a message, it's more of like a memory that kind of got resurfaced. I do remember my father telling me that my grandmother's family, the Howlands, were inventors. I do remember that. And I remember him telling me something about them making a part for like a washing machine or something like that. I'm sure they did other forms of invention. But that's important to me. You know what I mean? I find this very fascinating that, I'm connected to my father. Still, my bond of love for him is what connects me. But this whole relationship with the prince and the Howland family goes on before I even came to this earth, at least this time around, because apparently the message I'm getting is I did live before, and I do recall some things, but I kept thinking there's a thing called false memory syndrome. And false memory syndrome is something that develops from people obviously having false memories, but false memories can be created by something that we might have seen maybe when we were maybe 2 years old. I might have seen a TV show when I was 2 years old about a particular woman who lived in this old shabby cabin, right? And I don't remember it as watching that on TV, but I have this memory of somebody like myself living in an old shabby cabin. So this is how false memory syndrome works. It could be memories that you think you had, but were actually inspired by something you saw. You know what I mean? So I kept questioning myself on this whole, reincarnation. But I thought one time that I lived in this old house, and I could be wrong. It could be something that I saw when I was 2 years old, 1 year old, something I didn't think I could retain in my memory, but somehow it's in my memory and it's confused as if it actually happened to me. So I have to ask myself that. Maybe think about it a little bit deeper, meditate on it. But right now, I'm more concerned about my relationship with the prince than this life that I had in America at one time. But still, I do recall living in this old shabby place where there was like a bunch of, I don't know, like pots and pans. And I had this belief that I took in laundry to basically survive. You know what I mean? And I believe that I was an independent woman at this time, just like I am in this life. But who knows? I don't know where that comes from. But once I find out, I will definitely let you guys know. Okay, so on with the celebrity shout outs. I wanted to say hello to Danny Harrison. I think you are gorgeous and I love your style. I wanted to say hi to Morgan Freeman. Now, Morgan, I know that you've done some pretty impressive work throughout the years, okay? And of course, I watched you and I grew up watching you. And I know you probably aren't proud of this particular character that you played, but I loved you as Easy Reader on Electric Company. And I think that you contributed to a lot of people's learning and you made learning fun. And also you really looked cool in your bell bottoms. You really did. I want to say hi to Cyndi Lauper. I love your style. I'm so glad that you're still expressing yourself, and you just keep getting better with age. Okay, this is funny. I was walking down the street today. I kept laughing at this thought because when my son was little, I would get like a lot of VHS tapes and we would watch VHS, but we would watch like cartoons, TV shows, over and over and over again. And I would just like, kick back with my son and we would be watching these little shows. And I remember when we would watch the Shining Time Station. Now I know it seems unfair to give a celebrity like 2 shout outs when everyone else gets 1, but I had to say that I really loved watching that show just for Ringo Starr in that conductor outfit. And I was kind of laughing to myself. I don't like to laugh at while I'm walking because I don't want people to think I'm crazy. Because people are like, oh, she's talking to herself, she's laughing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that thought. And I thought that I did watch the Shining Time Station just for Ringo Starr. But anyway, I also want to say hi to Kurt Smith and Roland Orzabal from Tears for Fears. You guys are great. I've loved you guys from the very beginning. I also wanted to say hi to Halle Berry. Your acting is phenomenal. And I actually started watching you when you first came out on the scene, and I have seen you grow, and you're just amazing. I wanted to say hi to Yoko Ono, another one that I think is great and expresses herself. I adore you. And I also wanted to say hi to. I wanted to say hi to Jennifer Beals. I think she's like 100% beautiful. She's a great actress, and she is the epitome of elegance. And then I also want to say hello to Bette Midler. I've seen you over and over again throughout my life, and I'm a huge fan, and there's nothing that you can't pull off. You're an amazing actress. Okay, now, I was getting this in my mind that I needed to do a schoolyard shout out, okay? So I'm going to do that really quick before I wrap up this video, and I will be putting the recipe in the description box, and then I'm also going to kind of give you a breakout of which each the symbolic representation of each food, what it means, okay? So, anyway, I wanted to say hi to Brett Pape. Brett was the guy that I fucked over in the English class when I told him to say Big Jello, and then he said Big Jello, and then we ended up losing. I still think that's funny. And I also wanted to say hi to Steve Ford, who was in the same English class as me and Brett Pape. I know that I used to just like making fun of you because, he was really handsome and he always seemed really serious about his work and everything. And so I would just like to pick at him just because I like to throw him off a little bit. Anyway, I wanted to say hi to my history teacher, Charlie Williams. I always thought you were really cool. I know I must have got really, you must have got tired of me because I ditched school a lot, but now you kind of know why I was ditching school a lot. I really couldn't stand it there But I always liked your humor. I thought you made teaching fun, and I think that you engaged the students in a positive way, and you kept things interesting. Sorry, I wasn't there very often. I also like to say hi to Brad Lowe. Now, Brad Lowe, I grew up with from kindergarten, and then he went to another high school. Um, he went to Paraclete, I think, when I went to AV High. So it was sad. I was kind of disappointed when you went to Paraclete because I really liked walking to school with you. I liked talking with you. And I remember like there was times when I would forget my spelling book, and then you would be walking to school, and my mom would send the spelling book with you, and you were always really kind and considerate towards me. I don't know, did somebody pay you to be nice to me? I don't know, but I really do appreciate it. And I remember for our 8th grade dance, I remember we danced to that song Hello by Lionel Richie. So of course every time I hear that song I immediately think of you. I also want to say hi to Jeffrey Niekamp, that little school song that you taught the class when we were kids. I still hum that. Sometimes at certain times of the year, it's a part of me. It's cool. Anyway, I also want to say hi to Monica Gutierrez. Monica Gutierrez, I loved going to your house. Your house was the place I always wanted to be. Always wanted to be. And I know this is terrible. I loved it so much. It's like your mom always had food cooking, and there was always something going on. Your mom was really hospitable. Like, I just thought she was like the best mom ever. Like, I would go to you guys' house and there was always food, and she was like, "You're hungry, Maria?" And of course I always was. Okay, I would make up excuses to go to your house because I loved your atmosphere. It wasn't just the food that you guys had, okay? Maria was greedy and she did want your food, but I loved the thriving atmosphere of your home, and I was really envious of that. I thought you guys had a great family. Also, I wanted to say hi to Rocky Logue. Yeah, Rocky Logue. He was my first school crush, okay? And I really enjoyed getting to know him. I think my brother stole my friendship from you. Like, they were just really competitive. I wasn't allowed to have any friends. So if I didn't make any friends, they were no longer my friends. They had to be their friends, and so that was the end of that. But you know what? I still have sweet memories of you. And then, I was thinking about Crystal and Russell. Now, I know some of you guys are married. Of course, you guys have changed your name. I cannot think of Crystal and Russell's last name at the moment. I think it's Krazan. I could be wrong, and please forgive me. But, it's really a shame that we didn't get to be better friends, because we lived catty corner across the street from each other. We were about the same age, but obviously I was probably into my own stuff. It was probably not a cool thing to be hanging out with me back then. I don't know what the deal was. I'm trying to figure out what the big deal was. Probably because Maria was thought of as some sort of alien or something. I don't know, but it was too bad that we couldn't. I do remember getting the chance to talk to you a little bit more. I think it was like in 2000, a little bit around the time your father passed away. And I do remember like really enjoying that time with you, and I kept thinking it's really too bad that we didn't get to be better friends. That sucks. But anyway, also I wanted to say hi to Sunny and Hope Brunk. They were my next door neighbors. I remember going every summer. I think about you guys. Because I remember we would go to the parks and recreation things, and we would go to the roller rink. Oh man, I used to love going to the roller rink. And then we just spent a lot of summers together and doing stuff. And I remember going and sitting in the back of your dad's truck. I mean, like, the safety restrictions were a lot looser back then, but I do remember just hanging out with you guys like from morning to night. I mean, playing Barbies, the whole thing. I mean, you guys played a big role in my life. Thank you. Anyway, I was also thinking about Wanda Peterson. I always thought you were the coolest ever. I really, really liked you, and I remember wanting to get to know you more, but of course my mom was extremely jealous of you. I know that's terrible to say, but she was extremely jealous of you. So she didn't really allow me to get to know you. I was kind of prevented from doing that, but yeah, you were always cool. And I also wanted to say hi to Wendy Keller. Wendy, I remember your mom inspired me to want to be like a room mother. Remember room mothers? I think your mom must have been a room mother because I remember her bringing in that Ziggy cake. She made this cute little Ziggy cake, and I remember thinking how cool it is to like be able to like bake and bring home goods for the class to eat, right? And so I kept thinking, I can't wait to be a mom so I could do the same thing. But by the time my son was in school, the school systems were rejecting that. You couldn't bring in home baked goods. But anyway, I thought your mom was really cool for doing that. I still remember that Ziggy cake, and that's, to me, was important. You know, it was important, number one, to be a part of your kid's school life. Number two, it was just really cool that it showed like this motherly person making a cake and having everyone share it. It was just cool, you know. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that, but I know that my son works a job, so I was thinking about making some cupcakes and having him bring him in. You can always try to take back time in some way. You can't change time, you know, but you can always kind of make up for it. So that's what I'm trying to do before, you know, Maria moves on to the afterlife. I'm trying to get the best, make up for things that I missed out on. Anyway, what else? Oh yeah, Nikki Sullivan. Nikki Sullivan. I used to love hanging out with you. And I know that we weren't the greatest of friends, but we were kind of off and on because she lived around the block from me. And then there were times where I would be roller skating and I would stop by and talk to her, and then we would kind of hang out and that sort of stuff. But I remember like the times that we did hang out, it was really fun. And then I wanted to say hi to Maya Holmes. I was so terrible back in those days. Like, I can't tell you how many times you let me borrow lunch money and I never paid you back. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll pay you back someday. I promise. I promise. It's just that I was such a complete mess at the time. You know, like I would go and like blow my money on like clothes and food and stuff like that, and like Maya was just like really responsible, you know what I mean? And I can't believe like you were even my friend, but I appreciate you for being my friend. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care, and I will leave that recipe in the description box, and also I will do a short video on, in parentheses, what these like different ingredients in the soup represent. And if you want to know more about food magic, I will be covering that more in depth on my Patreon channel. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so for the second half of this video, like I said, I'm going to give you the breakdown of the spiritual qualities of each ingredient in this particular recipe that I saw. This particular recipe I got from the salty marshmallow, and so I have not yet tried this myself, but like I said, I was looking earlier to see if, you know, if I can make something really quick that's going to last me a few days, you know, so I figure I'm going to go ahead and try this recipe, and I'm encouraging you guys to do it as well. And the link will be in the description box for the recipe. Okay, here's just a quick list of all the ingredients that go into the soup. And so what I will be doing is breaking down the spiritual qualities of each ingredient in each slide. I will say that not all these ingredients are going to be entered in your mixing bowl or your pot and pan at the same time or in the order that you're seeing it. You're going to have to read the directions, just like I am later on when I make this soup, on how to make it and the order of how everything goes in. But I'm just going to go ahead and mention and give the information on each ingredient in the next slides. Okay, so the first ingredient that's listed is butter. Butter is a representation of wealth and prosperity, and it also is an ingredient that represents and symbolizes peace. So what I will do when I'm making this recipe is I'm going to think about making money or getting money in a peaceful way. No conflicts, you know, just having like if you're going to work or whatever, you're going to visualize receiving your money or having your abundance in a peaceful way. So as you're entering each ingredient, you're going to be focusing on what it's going to be bringing before you enter it. Enter it into the pot or pan or whatever. So what I usually do is, I mean, I don't speak this out loud. I pretty much do most of my, what do you call it? prayers or petitions in my mind, but you can just thank the butter for giving you these things and say, hey, you know, whatever qualities you possess, in this case, I'm asking that you continue to provide wealth, prosperity in a peaceful way. And then you go ahead and add it into the pot or pan or however the directions are, whatever the directions are telling you what to do. Okay, so the next ingredient listed is onion. They're suggesting that we use in this recipe yellow onions. Now, all onions have protective qualities. There's different kinds of onions. There's onions that I haven't even tried before, okay? But they pretty much all represent protection. So, you know, you want to visualize protecting your funds. You want to visualize your money being protected, you know, from fraud, scam, whatever. You know, just as you're chopping the onions and as you're holding the onions, getting ready to put them into the pot, just basically, you know, thank the onions for protection. Okay, well, garlic is, of course, another form of protection. You can never have enough protection. You can thank the garlic for being protective. So go ahead and chop up that garlic and focus on what it represents, which is, of course, protection. And like I said, when in this world, you can never have enough of it. Okay, so this ingredient is salt, and salt has many spiritual uses. I mean, you can use salt for a lot of different things. In this particular case, I would most likely look at it as a form of another form of protection. So I would look at it that way. Also, salt has a lot of purifying and cleansing energies to it. If you want to, you can visualize, you know, having your money come to you in a very pure and clean way, you know, however you want to. I mean, the thing about using food or any sort of manifesting or spell work, if you want to call it that, it's your intention, and it's basically you are using whatever energies that those ingredients provide, but you're focusing on those. So, like, you know, salt has protective energies. It also has protective energies, and it has purifying energies. Maybe purification is something that you think is important when it comes to receiving money. Like, you don't want to do something that's going to make you feel bad or whatever. Or you could purify, like, for example, your workplace or whatever. Use your imagination. In this case, I would probably look at salt as a form of protection. Okay, now this is one of my favorite ingredients. I love cinnamon. I think it's a great spice. It's one that I immediately associate with the autumn season, maybe because cinnamon's used in like a lot of the things that we eat during the autumn, you know. It's always in like a pie, pumpkin pie. It's just in like cinnamon and sugar donuts that I remember eating when I was a kid. Cinnamon definitely has a lot of good memories when I think about the associations of it. But cinnamon has a lot of magical qualities. Cinnamon has the energy of love. It has the energy of money. It also has the energy of psychic awareness. And so in this case, I think to be truly abundant and prosperous, you have to have all of those things. So love is an important thing, you know, like love for your friends, love for your family, that sort of stuff. Some people look at romantic love as an essential part of their life. Whatever form of love is important to you, you could also visualize that into your soup if that's what makes you feel abundant. In this case, I'm looking at money and how to make it, right? So, and when you think of psychic awareness, you know, you can think of, well, you know, you use cinnamon, maybe it could be added as an ingredient to help you find what it is that's going to bring you that money or how it's going to come about, you know, whatever. In this case, I would use the cinnamon mostly, like I said, to focus on prosperity, bringing in money. So that would be what my main focus is. Could be completely different for you, but feel free to use whatever energy that you want from that cinnamon into this recipe. Okay, it looks like this recipe includes ginger. Ginger is another one. I wouldn't say that I use ginger as much as I use cinnamon, but I do use ginger a lot in my recipes that I make for my food, like especially my Asian dinners or meals that I prepare. Ginger is associated with love, money, and success. Okay, so in this particular recipe, I think I'm going to be focusing on success and the money part of it. So that's what I would do. Like I said, it could be different for you, but that's the beauty of working with this sort of stuff. You know, it's personal, so feel free to use that ginger for whatever you want to. Okay, now this is part of the main ingredient, obviously pumpkin. Pumpkin represents money and prosperity. So this is, like I said, this is the main part of the ingredient. In this recipe, we're using canned pumpkins. Now, if you're somebody who knows how to work with the actual pumpkin, which I will say it's very time consuming. I've cooked with regular, the real, actual, whole, fresh pumpkin before. It is time consuming. You got to cut the pumpkin, you got to gut the pumpkin. There's a lot of work to be done with it. In this case, we're using the canned pumpkin. Whether it's canned or fresh, just make sure that you always pray over your food before you eat it. There's several reasons why. Number one, it could have been touched by someone else before you're actually consuming it. And anytime you're dealing with something that, like magic or whatever, you want to make sure only your energies are in it. And when it comes to families, that sometimes you have your children helping you. This is a family affair. So, I mean, that's different. This is about your little family connection. Feel free to have them chop the onions and like maybe, measure out that cinnamon or whatever. But for the most part, it's supposed to be about your energy, okay? Now, as I'm looking over these ingredients, I noticed that chicken stock is required for this recipe. I suppose you could substitute it for vegetable stock if you're a vegetarian. But chicken stock, or chickens, I should say, is usually associated with good health. You'll notice that a lot of times when you're sick, your grandmother or your mother may have made you chicken soup. People have always associated with chickens with vibrancy and feeling good. And so it has a lot of connection with good health. So you can just go ahead and visualize good health when you are putting your chicken stock into your pot. And of course, this recipe requires water. Water is essential for life and it purifies. So as you are pouring the water into your pot, just visualize, bringing life to your little spell here, like it's giving it the ability to be activated. Okay, I look at water as an activator, so that might be a little bit different than how you visualize it. Like I said, water might represent something different. It might represent just the purification, but I also look at water, as a big part of our lives. We have to have water. It's essential to our lives. So feel free to use the water however you wish. Okay, it looks like the last ingredient is heavy cream. And I will say that things like heavy cream and milk are generally associated with peace and spirituality. In this case, what I'm going to visualize is I'm going to think that the heavens are blessing my food. Like I'm getting blessings directly from the heavens. Feel free to visualize that heavy cream doing whatever for you. You can pretend that it's God coming down and giving you blessings, however you want to imagine it. That's the beauty of magical cooking. Now, I think I'm going to serve this with bread. If I had, children with me or something, I would, of course, share that with them. Bread has, of course, a history of being used in ceremonies and rituals when it comes to, communities, sometimes churches. They used to have this ritual called breaking bread. And with this bread, what it would do is it would create links with each other. And we don't break bread anymore. Most of the time bread it comes in slices, right? But there's something really cool about passing bread around and each person taking a piece of that bread and consuming it. And what you're actually doing is you're creating a link, a bond with that person. So that would be a good idea for you guys to get like one of those big loaves of bread and just kind of pass it around the dinner table. I did suggest earlier in the first video, the beginning of this video, that you guys, if you don't have a kitchen table, you guys can just kind of like stretch out on the living room floor with like a little picnic type style thing. You guys can just ritualistically pass the bread around, and as you're doing that, you guys can talk and, you know, share your stories with each other, and that bread is going to create a link, a little bond between you guys. So I'm going to wrap up this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye bye.